welcome back to our second curves video. This will be all about how to make a color adjustment by establishing a neutral gray. And you can see I've got a series of photos here that are a little overexposed and yellow, made deliberately so actually, because our digital technology is getting so good these days. We don't get as many bad photos as we used to. But these photos are a little overexposed and a little bit yellow, and you can see it throws off skin tones and so forth. Here's some goofy guy taking a picture of a building. We can establish one adjustment for these, since these were taken at the same time under the same lighting conditions. We can establish a single curves adjustment and then apply that adjustment layer to each of these four images. We'll start with this one since it's got a human being in there, and it'll be real obvious if we're throwing things off a great deal. So I'll do an adjustment layer for curves first of all, and here's my my curves adjustment dialog box. Once I've got that curves adjustment dialog box, you know, last time around we saw how you can use this pointing finger icon to go around the image and see where the lights and darks are, and see where those fall in relation to the histogram and in relation to this this curve that we're going to adjust. This time we'll take a look at the eyedropper samplers, particularly this middle gray. And so we'll get that, let's see, sample in image to get your gray point. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take this eyedropper and find a neutral gray, and if we click on an area that we know to be a neutral gray, then the curves will adjust accordingly. It'll adjust the, in this case, the red, green, and blue channels accordingly. That's one thing about curves. You can adjust the composite, you know, red, green, and blue, for a lighter or darker exposure in a given area. You can adjust it and make that curve more steep to add more detail, or you can flatten it to get rid of detail and contrast in a given area. But we can also do that on each channel, red, green, and blue, and we get a histogram for the light and dark information in that channel, red, green, and blue. And you can see the blue channel, the opposite of which is yellow. We've got very little info going on in that in those lighter areas. If we were to cut those out, we would see, actually that's not a bad move right there. If we were to cut that out, we would see the yellowing of this photo diminish quite a bit, and you can see the bricks look more natural, the skin tones look more natural as well by doing that. So hold that thought. That's not a bad move either. But what we're going to do is, rather than try and do some guesswork in each of those channels, we're going to try and find a neutral gray. Now you'd think maybe the sidewalk would be. Whoops, not so much there. Oh, let me get back in the composite first of all and make sure that I'm on that neutral gray tool. There we go. So if I click, yeah, if I click on the sidewalk, that's not such a great neutral gray. Now this is a little more like it. There's some sort of gray bricks in this building, and that cuts through some trees for us, and you can see what that does to the blue curve. We're lightening up those light areas of the blue curve, sharpening the mids and darks of the blue channel. And that's not a bad guess either. One of the areas that I found on this particular photo works pretty well. There's a white piece of paper stuck to the window, and in the photo that comes out to be kind of a neutral area. If I click on the right part of that, there we go. That's not bad. My blue curve is flattening out in those lighter areas, adding detail in those mid shadows. And we've got the reds of the bricks doing pretty well. We've got the skin tones doing pretty well. I'm going to go with this for a good general adjustment as a starting point. Now, if you've got an adjustment that you're happy with on your photos, you can pull that first photo aside like so. Wow, and there we can look at a real dramatic comparison. Here are those others that we had. Here's our adjusted photo. Arguably not a perfect adjustment, but once you've got an adjustment you like, it's real easy to apply it to the other photos. You just take the adjusted image, get your layers panel, click and drag on that curves adjustment and drag it over top of the other photo that you want to adjust. Pow! There it applies that. It puts that second layer into the layers panel for that image, and we do likewise with the other images in the series. I go back to my original, click and drag on that curves layer, and apply that to each image in succession. And it's just that easy to make that exact same adjustment to every photo in the series. And now I'll put this back into the tab by dragging and resting over the top of it. And here we've got that entire series adjusted with this same adjustment. Now, since these overlap, we could take them into photo merge and make one big photo, but that's a lesson for another time. So this time we've done a curves adjustment layer, and in our curves adjustment dialog box we've grabbed this this gray sampler tool, and we've found an area that we know to be a neutral gray. We've clicked, it has adjusted red, green, and blue channels accordingly. The red and green channels, it's made just a little bit darker, so we're getting rid of a little bit of magenta and cyan in there. And the blue channel, it has made a little bit lighter and sharper, and it's flattened out the light areas of the curve, so we're getting rid of a lot of that yellow tint that we had in this photo by doing that. And Photoshop has done that for us in one graceful move, merely by taking this gray eyedropper and finding an area that we know to be neutral. In other words, not a lot of color information, but just strict black, white, and gray information in that neutral area, clicking on it, and then Photoshop taking an average of that and adjusting each channel accordingly. So good luck with the assignment. I hope this technique is helpful to you in adjusting photos that you may have at home or you may have at work that need this kind of adjustment. So have fun with this assignment.